and welcome to our program World Today. I'm your host Sharmeen Ali. Prime Minister Imran Khan has returned from his visit from Tehran, where he went on his own accord to try and facilitate talks between Tehran and Saudi Arabia. In the recent months, tensions have increased between the two countries due to the fact that Houthi drones attacked a Saudi oil facility, and it was blamed on Iran. And after that, tensions seemed to increase. But Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman did express to Prime Minister Imran Khan when he met him last that he did not want it to escalate into an all-out conflict, and neither does Iran, it seems, want to have an all-out conflict. And at the same time, the tensions between the United States and Tehran are also pretty high due to the fact that there are sanctions on Iran, and President Donald Trump backed out of the JCPOA agreement, of the nuclear agreement, the deal that was made between the European countries and the United States with Tehran. So all these matters were discussed on Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit to Tehran, and now he is due to visit Saudi Arabia, and with a very positive feeling from his visit in Tehran. So that will be tomorrow. At the same time, we will also be discussing the prevailing situation in Indian-occupied Kashmir, which is now which has entered its third month of curfew and lockdown. There's a communications blackout still, and they say that landlines have been restored partially. However, cell phone networks are still not working. Majority of the Kashmir people are still without any communications. Also, many children and boys have been detained, over 13,000, and protesters have been killed, and medical supplies are short, and people are not sending their children to school. Previous lockdowns like this ones and curfews have lasted up to 7 months, so this situation could go on for quite some time. We will also be talking about our team from Pakistan, which has arrived in Paris for the FATF review, which they will be presenting their compliance report today and tomorrow. Hamad Azhar, the Minister for Revenue, is going to be taking this compliance report to the FATF and presenting it there. And we are hopeful that Pakistan will emerge out of the grey list and definitely not go into any blacklist territory. We are going to be discussing that as well with our guest today, and we'll also talk about the visit of the royals in Islamabad later today. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, Prince William and Duchess Kate, are due to arrive in Islamabad, and their visit will last till the 18th of October. They're supposed to be visiting the entire region of Pakistan from the north to Lahore, Islamabad, and to get an idea of the areas and the beautiful places and the people of Pakistan. So let's go on now to introduce our guests on our program today. We have with us Brigadier Tipu Sultan, who is a senior analyst. Sir, thank you for being with us. And Afshan Tehseen, who's also an analyst. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us. Let's begin, sir, now with the Prime Minister's visit to Tehran. In your opinion, how significant is this visit, and how much impact do you feel it can have, considering that Prime Minister Imran Khan is pretty close to Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, and Tehran is our neighbor and our friendly country as well. We're trying to have good relations with them, and they've welcomed this facilitation process. So, and the Prime Minister also mentioned that he feels positive about it. So what do you feel may have been the developments from this visit?
Well, Sharmeen, whenever there is a difficult condition in any zone or a conflict zone of the world, it depends who is trying to solve it. The stature of the leaders comes to fore. Imran Khan, when he won the elections, he offered an olive branch to India by saying that if you take one step forward, we'll take 2 steps forward for peace. Now, this man is becoming an ambassador for peace. His engagements in Washington over a week and New York speak the same. He's risen in his stature. Iran is very important to Pakistan. They are our neighbors. We have cultural ties. We have people like Attar, like Shirazi, Hafiz, Khusro, whatever he has written. And at one time, the Persian was an official language in the subcontinent during Mughals. So, as far as the cultural bond is concerned, there are no two countries in the world that I can remember can be compared to what Iran and Pakistan has in common, besides the religious faith and all that. They have a difficult situation with Saudi Arabia. In Shah's time, it was okay because there was a kingship on both sides, and since the Khomeini revolution, the situation has not been that good. plus what has happened is that the Americans are interested in the region. Every now and then they interfere. They've had 2 Middle East wars in Iraq with disastrous results. Syria is destabilized, so is Libya, so is Iraq, so is Afghanistan. And they're there with 2 carriers, and now they're sending 2 squadrons of fighter squadrons there and some Patriot missiles. And they have much to gain financially by doing all that. On the behest of the Israelis, perhaps they wanted to attack the Iranians like they did in 73 in Iraq. They attacked twice on the Syrian nuclear facility and all. And remember, in the region, the only nuclear power in the Middle East is Israel, which has got tactical and which got strategic nuclear weapons. And nobody talks ever about that, and I'm surprised. And all these nations live under the shadow of Israeli nuclear capability. And when Iranians wanted to develop, they negotiated a very detailed nuclear agreement with the West and the Americans, on which the Americans have unilaterally gone back. I think they wanted to cow down Iran, they wanted to pressurize them, and then they realized that it's a different ball game.
In the recent attacks on the Saudi oil facilities, what we saw
Well,
was
that is shrouded in mystery. I mean, if you look at it, and if I think of my military background and the accuracy on which those projectiles hit there,
exactly.
I think
shows some
there's
advanced
something
weaponry, which
sinister
I don't
about
think
it.
they were
There's not one attack. There's a series of at least 5 to 6 on tankers and all that. Now we have news that there was an attack on the Iranian tanker also. I think the Americans down the line realized that it will not be prudent for them to attack Iran. That is what their military establishment has been telling them. And then when our Prime Minister rose in stature, and the world knows him other than being Prime Minister, now they have known him as a Prime Minister of a different caliber coming out of Islamabad. It's a different thing in Islamabad now, because the previous governments there virtually had no foreign policy. They did not maintain a foreign minister. Fatmi was sitting in the Prime Minister house, who was grey, and things were very bad. Now it has changed. Pakistan is pursuing a nuclear. Pakistan is pursuing a policy, a foreign policy, which is prudent, which is proactive. So I think Iran peace and with Saudi Arabia is very important for Pakistan.
Right.
And I'm sure Imran Khan is going to pull it through. And if he can manage a summit between Mohammed bin Shahzada, Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, and Hassan Rouhani, the Iran president here in Islamabad, it will be very good for the region. It will be very good for Pakistan. If the sanctions on Iran are lifted, Pakistan has much to gain. We have the gas pipeline already running. Exactly. The Iranians have constructed that. Pakistan abandoned that due to the American pressure. And Pakistan could not, and the previous government could not even say that you are allowing the Indians to have trade relations, and you unilaterally lifted those conditions on India, and you do not let Pakistan, which is power thirsty, whether it is electricity or gas, you are not allowing that. Plus the oil is going to flow, and the prices are going to be under control. I think if the peace comes, it will be to the advantage of the Arabs as well as the Persians.
And to the entire region.
And to Pakistan. I mean, frankly speaking, there are about 17 to 20% Ahl-e-Tashi Muslims here in Pakistan, which is a substantial number, and a lot of people will be satisfied from the point of view of faith, from the point of view of business, from the point of view of inter-relationship. People go in large numbers for the ziyarats here in Iraq and in Iran.
Frequent visits there,
and people go in large numbers to Makkah and Medina also.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think these places are revered by Pakistanis altogether. And one thing that I can see is that the warmongering is over almost, because Saudi Arabia also understands, and the world's best also understands, that it will not be prudent for them to go to war with Iran.
Absolutely. And
the stakes are so high that even the monarchy structure can be under threat due to this war.
Absolutely.
It has got catastrophic. You cannot cow down Iran like other countries. It's a country which has sustained its revolution. It's a country which has sustained the conspiracies of 50s of when the West removed the democratic government of Mossadegh and they installed Shah. But for a few decades, the Iranians have come back thumpingly with the revolution.
Right.
It's a great revolution. We are living very near it. We do not realize how great a revolution that was.
Right. So, Ms. Afshan Tehseen, what do you think? Do you think Prime Minister Imran Khan will succeed in bringing about a summit, as Brigadier Saab has suggested that might happen? How do you think his influence will work in this case?
Thank you very much, Sharmeen. First of all, I would like to give credit to the current government that after many decades, the credit goes to PTI for taking up the foreign diplomacy very rigorously, very forcefully. And for the first time, we Pakistani feels that yes, we are important, we have respect, we have dignity. And the way Imran Khan, after he came to power, the way he, shown to the world, starting from India, first offering them offers of peace and bilateral support and all that, and then taking up the issue of Kashmir, and then taking it up in the United General Assembly, the way he spoke about overall regional peace and international peace and linked it up with the, first Kashmir and other neighboring countries and their mutual support, bilateral support, multilateral support and stability, we should congratulate them. And I think it is very important and it depends. Leadership matters. I must say that the way Imran Khan, soon after coming to power, started, engaging its neighbors, then the regional, forces, then the Muslim countries, and definitely then going to United Nations General Assembly, and where he showed, that they can do, they can facilitate, they can mediate, they have that power, they have that energy, and they have that strength that they are able to do this. And I must say that after having these unilateral, bilateral, multilateral meetings, these Arab countries also realize that only fighting and requesting America, who always believes in the policy of divide and rule, asking them puts heavy burden on Saudi Arabia, the way America has now increased its armed strength in the Gulf, and all the financial burden they are going to put on Saudi Arabia. So they realize that instead of bringing them to their region and bearing all their burden and then continuously keeping, strained relationships with Iran, it is not going to end amicably. The best solution is that both Saudi Arabia, Iran should have good relationship, though that they should come out of all the economic crisis, because as we know, MBS is also doing lots of reforms, within his own country, and he needs lots of economic stability. And the way there were attacks on their oil refineries, they realized that this is not going to help them a lot if they go into confrontation with Iran. And similarly, the way Iran was being threatened by America, the way all that, America-Iran wars mongering started, Iran has also come up wise that instead of just going into direct confrontation, it is better that the regional countries should mutually support each other. And Iran is our natural ally. Why? Because they are our neighbors. We already share a 900-kilometer border with them. They are a Muslim country. And if we are, support each other, that is going to open up lots of, economic opportunities for us in future. And the way Iran has been not taken up on board like in the past, but now we can see they had more support with India, with America. I'm talking about Chabahar port. But if we just take them on board and we talk about our CPEC, we can have, offer them lots of opportunities in Pakistan. So both Saudi and Iran, can have ties with Pakistan and emerge as a new force, because as we say, Israel is the only nuisance force in the region which is doing all that. If we countries realize that thing, I think in regionally, globally, we can realize the whole world that peace is the ultimate solution. Because if we will not be doing this, if we will be doing one-to-one war as has been happening with Muslim countries, you see the Kurds, the way they relied on Americans and then they dodged them, now they are suffering. So we have to learn a lesson. And now this Kashmir movement, I must say, wherever the RPM is going, he's taking this issue along and he's projecting it very forcefully. And I'm really feeling proud that India was not expecting whatever happened in United Nations General Assembly, whatever Modi was expecting to, let it get ignored by the larger world. It did not got ignored, and you see it was covered by all the international media, by all the various parliaments like British Parliament, like French, Russia and other countries in their parliaments. It was discussed, and slowly and gradually, recently there was a commission report from British government, and this issue is now gaining more momentum, and which in future, inshallah, we hope that once Imran Khan has just taken the resolve to highlight this issue as much as possible, to support, to contribute, and we must be very positive. And with this new leadership, all the Muslim world is now looking up to Imran Khan, a person who can really, unite all the Muslim world. And we have seen recently a smaller, not a bigger initiative, but still they are very important initiatives. The way Malaysia, the way Turkey, Pakistan have started thinking about it, how they can, make their presence felt to the rest of the world and shun aside these Islamophobia and other stigmas which were attached to the Muslim world, and the America and other such forces were making advantage and stigmatizing us and making us drown in the conspiracies which were initiated by them. So we have thrown ball in their court, and we needed such leadership who should be vocal enough, strong enough, and who has this strong credibility attached to them. People depend on them, people believe in them. Even Trump, if you see, he has mentioned many times that now Imran Khan is one such person we can rely to help us initiate the peace deal between America and Afghanistan. So definitely things are very positive, very, I must say, solid, and if they continue the momentum, it will definitely going to lead positive results.
Yes, and also, sir, if you'd like to comment on this, Prime Minister Imran Khan has actually been promoting the message of peace to the other countries of the world. He's gone to the US, he's sort of pleaded not to get into any confrontation with Tehran, and then President Trump also responded by saying, yes, he would be interested in mediation, facilitation by Prime Minister Imran Khan. And he's given the examples of Syria, of Afghanistan, and how much suffering there's been, and then the resulting afterwards economic costs to all the parties involved and everything. So he's really played a good role as far as trying to bring about peace in other countries as well.
I think the world is standing at a stage where the intensity of conflicts had risen, the death and destruction has written so much in the world that the sane quarters want peace.
Yes.
And they're seeking reasons for peace. The days of hatred and bloodshed and waging wars on innocent countries and poor countries and those countries who are defenseless should be over. The fallout of these wars has been very, very catastrophic for the population, for the children, women, families. And Imran Khan is one man who is known to the world, who is a known philanthropist. He is a well-meaning person. He does not have any hidden agenda. He does not have anything up his sleeve like Modi, bagal mein chhuri aur muh mein ram ram. He doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe in fascism and extremism.
No.
And I think not only Pakistan, the world wants to utilize that. And
he's seen as a moderate leader.
I think the only trouble that this man has is the poor economy in the country and the governance system that has decayed, especially after the 18th Amendment, how the provinces are behaving. If the Sindh province is not capable of taking care of itself, its municipalities, and in lifting the structure for the people, and there are sinister political movements funded from abroad, and he has to face a hybrid fifth generation war, and he has to face all those intelligence agencies that are operating against Pakistan, have got the deployment over here, and our own people sometimes are so naive that they don't understand that their political utterances or their actions are so detrimental to the well-being of this country. and the political parties have failed to get out of their own petty interest to rise to the expectations of the nation,
For
have
the
a
sake of Pakistan.
national interest in view. That's absolutely very disappointing. And over here you have one Prime Minister who's working almost 20 hours out of 24 hours. You know, he
Yes.
came back from
And it
America,
shows on him.
he went to the areas of the earthquake, then he had a marathon cabinet meeting, he came back and went to China, he
Yeah.
came back,
It's
went to
exhausting.
Iran, he comes back, goes to Saudi Arabia, then hosts that the royals that are arriving here. I think we owe it to this country and we owe it to support this man
Yeah.
in sincere efforts.
Right.
And I think he is not only needed, as I said, by Pakistan, he is needed by the region, by the world large.
As a strong and moderate leader.
and
Now,
he's-
sir, speaking of being strong and moderate, now let's speak about
He's,
Prime Minister Modi, which is a
something,
complete opposite in
something
Kashmir,
is
in
no,
India.
absolutely opposite. You know, Modi's 20 years are obscure. This man is criminal, Narendra Modi. He has got blood at his hands. He's a fascist. He's a terrorist. Represents a terrorist organization.
And that's
And
how the
he
world is
says,
viewing
and
it
he's
now,
so
that
immune to
contrast
it,
as
and
well.
there are videos that he is enjoying the killing of women and children, innocent people. This monster is a barbarian from which the world needs to get rid of. And over here, the Imran Khan wanted to approach him, and he rebuffed him in a manner which is not seen in the world leadership.
Yeah.
And then when they bombed us on Balakot, Imran Khan has been telling them, don't do it, we will retaliate surely. And then he got that on his face, those two blows. Even then he has not learnt. He's won the elections by misleading the people of India. And the Indians do not realize at large what is happening to them. It's only the Indian intellectuals who write in newspapers and the publishers like Arun Datti and other people who realize that some of their judges, I think the Indians are heading in a very wrong direction under a man who is very dangerous. They need to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Imran Khan, inshallah, will succeed. The muqaddar that he has, since he was born, educated in Atchison College, later on in England, played cricket, had setbacks, came back as a world-renowned sportsman, the best all-rounder ever, raised cancer hospitals, which people said you can't do it. He formed a political party and said, no, politics is not your game, you're not going to succeed. And he is our Prime Minister, he is going to succeed, inshallah.
He is, inshallah, going to succeed. Now, India is not backing away from the revocation of Article 370, and they've said that Islamabad has to accept it. And it seems that although the world is making a lot of noise about the human rights situation in Indian-occupied Kashmir, however, concrete steps are not being taken to change anything over there as so far. So, would you like to comment on that, Ms. Afshan?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to talk about Modi. You know, Modi is the face of RSS, and we already know, you know, what is RSS and how it believes in the philosophy of Hindutva and in the purity of Hindu nation.
Yes.
And Modi being part of it, you know the history. He's also called Butcher of Gujarat, how he did the great massacre, killing more than 2,000 people in Gujarat, and later on, from rising from the chief ministership, he opted for the running the election of prime minister. And what he did, he used the card of religion. So he used Hindutva, he used the RSS philosophy in the name of making a greater India and strengthening it, and a great Indians being great nationals, and using card of the Hindutva. He won that election, and he did all what he could to make its nation believe that Hindus are the supreme beings, and just to make them the superpower of the world. He is heading in the right direction. And just like Pakistan, we share the same land, we share the same background, and they are also emotional people. Literacy is not there, and he used all the social media and all the latest tools to make people believe that what he is doing is right, to secure India, to bringing it topmost power in the world. But later on we saw that was all
an
an
against
exploitation. Actually, he capitalized on the very, I must say, on the hatred, on the extreme hatred he provoked against Pakistan, he provoked against Muslims, he provoked against all minorities, I must say. And for the time being, yes, he got a success, but we can say in the end, whatever happened, the Indian intellectual think tanks have also started talking about it. Though India up till now has taken this stance that it is their internal matter, but it is not their internal matter.
Right.
It is definitely an international matter, and the big indicators is all the 11 resolutions which United Nations General Assembly has passed, and Kashmir had its own independent stance, and definitely it was decided that the Kashmiris will decide their fate on the
right.
independent plebiscite, but India is still not listening to the world, not listening to anybody, and they are not going to revoke all that. Though just to show the normalcy, they have just lifted up, they say curfew allowed tourism, and then they just said that we have reinstalled the telephone lines, but these are all gimmicks to just confuse the world.
They're all superficial measures just to show the world, and they've released maybe 3 political prisoners, but the main ones are still in prison.
The main ones are not only imprisoned in Tihar jail, but people like the leaders like Yasin Malik, they have opened a very old, like 20, 30 years old cases against them, and the likelihood is the internal leadership of Kashmir is saying that they are most likely heading towards even assassinating those genuine leaders who are there struggling for years for Kashmir.
Not just a few.
So this is really very sad, and that's why we are saying this is for the first time after a long time that this issue has been highlighted in the international community. They came to know about Kashmir, they came to know about atrocities, they came to know about like 12,000 children, just vanishing them from the scene, 100,000 children orphaned, many women being raped, and the widows and half widows, all those stories, for the first time people came to know, and many I must say senators even from US government has raised this issue. Even they tried to visit IOK and they were not allowed to pay visit. In many other delegations, human rights organizations were trying to visit, but they were not allowed. So this is not something which can be decided in a day or in a month or maybe few months. Definitely it is going to take long. That's why now that we have gained momentum, now that we have just stood in solidarity with Kashmir, as our PM said that he is their ambassador. So now we have to abide by, and now this is even more critical for Pakistan not to let that momentum go down. Rather it should increase, and now we need to work with more I must say with more regularity and with converging all our foreign office, our government, all our think tanks should need to devise a proper strategy which should be short term, medium term and long term, how we are going to fight, because India had been very smart in their propaganda against Pakistan, and they had been showing to the world that there is just a normal situation in Kashmir, this is their internal issue, which has not been the case as we have seen. So we have to see how Pakistan, now that Allah has given really a new, I must say, face to Pakistan in the recent developments. So Pakistan has to see how it will have to work internally first to stabilize itself economically, because the more we are economically stable, the more we are on our firm footing, only then we can stay stronger in front of the international community.
That's a very
and work
important
with
point.
More strength.
Speaking of now economic stability, India was already suffering economically before they revoked Article 370 in Indian occupied Kashmir and 35A. Now what's happened is they're facing a major unemployment issue after the currency ban and such things. And now India's image is really going down. They're being labeled as one of the most dangerous countries for foreigners, the 5th most dangerous for foreigners. Foreigners don't feel safe there because of this Hindu extremist ideology that's spread around over there. It's also known as a rape capital of the world. Again, women will not feel safe in a place like that. So, sir, how far do you think this extremist RSS policy, Hindutva policy that's going on in India right now, do you think it's going to further damage their economy?
Well, Sharmeen, India's effectivity in the world stood on certain factors that they played. One is the secular stance that they had taken, although the Indians were never ever secular. In 48, they murdered Gandhi themselves, the RSS representative. And then they said that we have a large democracy and acceptability and tolerance and all that. All that has gone.
It's no more,
It's
exactly.
no more there. And the way the politics are played in India, it will be very, very difficult for Congress party or whoever party wants to do away with what Narendra Modi had done to India. It is going to be a phenomenal, almost impossible task, because millions upon millions of people are radicalized in India. They become bloodthirsty. They kill people on the streets.
So what happens if a foreigner visits India and has beef or steak or something? Do they face the possibility of being lynched like the
I think
locals there
Manmohan
do?
Singh had turned India into a very acceptable market and country, from the market economy, from the tourist point of view also. And it has been destroyed by Modi. But yet I will tell you that the Indian influence is downgraded, all right, but it is not something which is gone away. And the Indians do believe that they can get away with what they are doing in Kashmir, and indeed they are getting away with it. Even Prime Minister Imran Khan has said that you are showing all that is happening in Hong Kong while you're turning a blind eye to what is
Exactly.
happening in Kashmir, and it is absolutely true. Now they are, showing everything from morning till evening with Turkish incursion into Kurdistan or Syria, as you may call it. But there is a complete, I would say, a blackout on what is happening in Kashmir. And as the Prime Minister has said that they have been locked in a manner worse than the animals. A few animals were locked in Europe, it would have made headlines. But you would not budge an inch what the Indians are doing to Kashmiris.
So the Supreme Court hasn't done anything
they are
either,
so
which people were
mad
expecting.
that I mean, it is. It's not even funny. It's very sad what is happening in India. And what I was thinking was that what is it that is going to stop the Indians from doing what they're doing in Kashmir? Is it going to be the United Nations, or is it going to be any world power that be, or the resistance that has to be done eventually? And unfortunately, what I believe is that the situation is going towards a larger conflict, because the Indians are very hysteric about Kashmir and other areas. They don't know how to go about it in a humane manner. They just want to bulldoze the people, they want to kill the people, they are not bothered about it, and they think that they will keep getting away from the world. And I think the beginning has been done by Imran Khan to expose them internationally. I think he spoke to Washington Post, he spoke to the New York Times, he spoke to Christiane Amanpour on CNN, and he spoke to so many other programs, and his schedule in America was packed.
Yeah.
Plus his tweets.
70 plus meetings, they say.
The difference is that when Imran Khan speaks or talks, the world listens to him.
That's true.
He's got his own weight, he's got his own stature.
And credibility.
And credibility which has been built over decades. It's not one day's job.
Yeah.
Nobody would
And
listen
through
to...
his own personal relations as well with people abroad. And all
No, the people abroad, and he understands their system, he understands their psyche.
the mindset.
I mean, compare him with Zardari or Sharifs, nobody is
And he knows how to relate to other world leaders.
Nobody is
as
going
well.
to be bothered about them. So I think for the time being, it is very sad and catastrophic what is happening in the Indian-held Kashmir, and I'm afraid the situation might turn violent. There are people here in Kashmir, in Pakistani Kashmir, and the people in Pakistan want to go and save their sisters and brothers from all those crimes that the Hindus are doing. The fundamentalists have crossed over into India, into Kashmir from India, and they have joined the security forces, which is almost 1 million people over there. And if world does not, I think Imran Khan has warned the world, they don't understand what is going to happen. All this mercantile interest the world has in India is going to go for a 6. This market of 1 billion, over 1 billion people is going to go for a 6 if there is a war between India and Pakistan. And it will be even difficult for any government in Pakistan to stop the people from going and helping their brothers and sisters in distress.
Absolutely.
And people are already giving example. There was one woman.
Because they have families there. The
One
people
woman
who want
who
to go
wrote
and
a
help their
letter to
families.
Hajjaj bin Yusuf about Raja Dair, that his family has been looted and insulted by this Raja, Hindu Raja. And they said Muhammad bin Qasim under a Muslim army who invaded for the revenge. Over here the millions are crying.
Yes, exactly.
And you know, the people are speaking in a very convincing way that if the world is not doing anything, well, somebody has to do it. And,
That's
and,
right,
and,
yeah.
and if it goes that way, it will infuse and inject a larger conflict, which will be very bad for the region, which will be catastrophic for the world even, not only for
This is
India
the
and
thing,
Pakistan.
Pakistan can go back to its day-to-day affairs if that were to happen, although we'll continue our efforts like Ma'am Afshan was saying. But at the same time, if that, even if that were to happen, the Kashmiris will still resist. And there's one huge difference between other peaceful movements in the world which have gained countries' independence, such as Pakistan is the best example. We got independence through peaceful resistance. But at that time, the English leadership, British leadership allowed for peaceful resistance. In the jails, they did not torture Gandhi and the other leaders. Whereas in Indian-occupied Kashmir, the leaders who they arrest and they detain, if you speak to their families, especially if you speak to, say, Nishal Malik, who's right here, she'll tell you how badly they're tortured. They just don't let them survive with the peaceful resistance.
Well,
They make
Sharmeen,
them
the point
disappear.
is
They
that
kill them off.
everybody knows what is happening in Kashmir. Everybody knows what the Indian government is doing and what the Hindus are thinking. Everybody knows that there is an ethnic cleansing, there blood of Muslims at hand. Point is that where do we go from here?
Exactly.
We have launched a diplomatic offensive. We have tried to convince the world. We have tried to tell the Americans, you got to come in and you have to save this humanity. But it is into the third month and nothing is happening.
Nothing is happening.
Where do we go from? It is ominous. Where do we go from here?
And then if all the men
and,
are in
and,
jail.
if you look at the statements coming out of the Indian leadership and the media, it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
Total lack of sympathy.
In this modern era and into the next century that we are facing a government which does not seek to reason, does not seek to the human values, nothing.
Yeah.
So the conflict, I am afraid, the way it is brewing, it may assume dangerous dimensions.
Right. So, Ma'am Afshan, what do you think would be, say, the right move by any country or group of countries to actually make India change something in Indian-occupied Kashmir?
First of all, let me just share that about Kashmir. India had been doing it since long. It was in its planning.
Yes.
If you see, it was already part of its election campaign, part of their manifesto about Article 370 and or 75A. On the concern is that when we rigorously started supporting Kashmir movement, India was already had lots of plans and they had planned to do it in phases.
Right.
Phase 1 was, abrogation, and phase 2 was, the settlement of other people, and side by side working on the disturbing the demography, and changing the ratio of Muslims in those areas, and bringing all the Hindus and other communities to come and settle in Kashmir. So once the demography is, the ratio is disturbed, it is far more easier for them. And side by side, India has been using very intelligent movements by, offering very business opportunities to the communities in those areas so that they can hook them for the time being, and they just make them by having 3 months continuously curfew, by breaking their back, because they are doing it intentionally so that this movement should settle down. But let me just share with you that no matter for how many years India has been saying to the world at large that this is terrorism done by Pakistan. The neighboring country Pakistan is disturbing it by sending there all the jihadis and all that.
Yeah.
But the truth is that the movements right now are indigenous. Why?
it's a
Because
homegrown movement.
every other house you have abductions, you have kidnappings, you have rapes, you
Torture.
have killings, you have torture. And what they have been doing past 3 months, that during night they have been taking all the youth from all the respective houses and making them disappear.
It's indeed a very grave
So-
situation. However, we need to move on to the next topic. We're short
Yeah.
of time, and it's a very crucial time right now for Pakistan, because our team is right now in Paris, and they're presenting their compliance report to the FATF group. And basically, we're trying to prove that we've done enough to come out of the FATF grey list. And so what is your opinion? Do you think that we'll succeed in coming out of the grey list? And do you think there's a risk that we'll get into the blacklist? Or do you think, I think Pakistan feels kind of confident that Turkey and Malaysia and China are going to prevent any such move like that from taking place?
Well, it's very unfortunate. It's becoming evident that the international organizations are being used as a political tool against certain countries. The United Nations was supposed to solve the problems of the world, and the big powers and those powers who hold the veto power started using them as a political tool. And mostly the conflict resolution has been of what the superpowers wanted. Similarly, FATF political angle came to fore rather late. The previous government hadn't done it. They would not do it, because they would not even take the name of Kulbhushan Yadav. What to talk of FATF Indian influence over there? And this government came out and said that Imran Khan said that, and then it started dawning on us that the Indians have an agenda when they try to use the FATF platform to harm Pakistan.
Yeah, and their efforts are long term. They're not just reactive or anything.
If you talk of money laundering, what other greatness to this money laundering can be there other than Panama leaks and offshore companies and all accommodating all those corrupt leaders in Swiss banks and all that? FATF does not look that way. FATF only looks to Pakistan to coerce us because we are financially in trouble, because they want us to behave in a certain manner which is detrimental to Pakistan and beneficial to them.
And hopefully.
So, and Pakistan has done so many actions and they don't budge an inch, because they have got the other countries, the sinister countries have a political influence over there. And I think Pakistan needs to clarify that more. I'm happy that the government came out and said that the Indians are trying to influence the decisions of the FATF, and the FATF, if it wants to save its reputation, if it wants to save its effectivity and cleanliness, and if it wants to save the fair play that is expected from the world out of the FATF, I think they have to get rid of the sinister moves by the Indians.
And I think Pakistan has made a lot of efforts in integrating its systems and going after organizations.
There is no other country on the face of the earth which has fought the terrorism the way Pakistan has. Pakistani institutions, armed forces, governments, everybody. We had 70,000 people have been sacrificed, killed. Economy destroyed in billions and trillions.
Right.
So and the FATF looks the other way and they are trying to blackmail us, they are trying to coerce us. They should be ashamed of themselves that they are an international organization and their behavior is far from being clear.
Right. So now we're going to talk about the royal visit that's going to be happening in Pakistan. Some good positive news for our people. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, Prince William and Duchess Kate will be arriving in Islamabad later on this evening at around 9 p.m. and they will be staying in Islamabad, then visiting Lahore, and they will be visiting the northern areas as well. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, Prince William and Kate Middleton will make their first visit to Pakistan today. The 5-day visit, which will end on October 18th, has been organized at the request of the United Kingdom's Foreign and Commonwealth Office. This will be the first royal tour to the country since 2006, when Prince Charles and Camilla, the Prince of Wales, and the Duchess of Cornwall travelled to Pakistan. Talking to Twitter, the British High Commissioner in Pakistan, Thomas Drew, said it will be a very exciting program. It will, of course, pay respect to the historical relationship between Pakistan and Britain, but it will focus largely on showing Pakistan as it is today, a dynamic, aspirational and forward-looking nation, he said. He also added that the royal couple was looking forward to meeting as many Pakistanis as possible and building a lasting friendship with the people of Pakistan. During the time in Pakistan, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will visit Islamabad, Lahore, and Gilgit-Baltistan and other rugged border regions to the west. That is what an official handout from Kensington Palace has said. So we hope they'll have a wonderful visit to Pakistan, starting from today till the 18th of October. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's program. I'd like to thank our guests who are in our studio today, Brigadier Tipu Sultan and Afshan. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here and for giving your analysis.
Imran Khan is a commoner, but he is much known to the royalty of the world.
Absolutely. Princess Diana came and visited him here.
He's royal himself in many aspects.
Absolutely, that's right.
They are very aware of him.
Yes, they are. They know him very well. So thank you for joining us today. We'll see you on our next program of World Today. Bye-bye from now.